Good morning. This will be the violent crime report for the city of Columbus, Ohio, during the period of March the 5th to March the 12th, 2021. According to public releases by the Columbus Division of Police, the city had 4 homicides and 9 shootings during this time period. On March the 6th, 2021, at approximately 6:58 p.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers were dispatched to a shooting at 3900 Morse Road at the Walmart. Upon arrival, officers found the victim suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the upper torso and head. The victim was transported to a local hospital in critical condition. A suspect was developed out of the investigation and warrants were filed. 23-year-old Shannon Knighton, Jr. has a warrant for his arrest stemming from this incident. On March the 7th, 2021, at 12:19 a.m., officers were dispatched to 1644 East Dublin Granville Road on the call of a shooting. The victim was inside Podunk's bar when a fight broke out, resulting in a mass exodus of patrons leaving the bar at the same time. While exiting the bar, the victim stated he heard several gunshots outside and started running when he was shot in the back of his right leg by an unknown suspect. The victim was transported to an area hospital in stable condition. The victim is expected to recover from his injuries. On March 10th, 2021, at approximately 3:38 a.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers were dispatched to the area of 844 Buckner Road on numerous shots fired. Officers arrived and located 4 houses struck by gunfire. A witness stated the shots were fired from a black Toyota into a small white SUV. The cars were not at scene. Detectives responded to scene and collected 55 spent shell casings from numerous types of guns, including rifles. After watching a doorbell camera, detectives located the house where a female had exited from and flagged down the white SUV. The female, Sophia Soros, came back to the house while detectives were still at scene. Ms. Soros stated that she and 2 male blacks were in the SUV and were not struck by any of these shots. She would not identify the 2 males in the vehicle with her. The investigation continues. On March 10th, 2021, at 5:45 a.m., officers were dispatched to 2004 Maryland Avenue on a call that a 12-year-old had shot himself. The victim was at a friend's house handling a firearm and accidentally shot himself in the left hand. The victim was transported to a local hospital in stable condition. The victim is expected to survive his injuries. On Thursday, March the 11th, 2021, at 1:07 a.m., officers were dispatched to 1272 Zettler Road on the report of a shooting. Upon arrival, officers located juvenile victim suffering from a gunshot wound to his abdomen. The victim was transported by Columbus Fire Medic 21 to Grant Hospital and is expected to survive his injury. The victim stated he heard someone knocking at the front door and he went to see who it was. The victim stated he asked, "Who is it?" And that's when an unknown individual fired several gunshots through the front door and the side of his house, striking the victim once. Detectives processed the scene and determined that both handgun and rifle rounds were fired into the house. On March the 11th, 2021, at approximately 5:50 p.m., Columbus Police Patrol officers responded to 1108 Lexington Avenue on the report of a shooting. Upon arrival, officers located the victim, Jerry Hannon, suffering from a gunshot wound to his upper torso. Mr. Hannon was subsequently transported to a local hospital in stable condition. It was later learned that multiple gunshots were fired outside of the residence, with one of those bullets striking the victim as he lay in his bed. On March 11th, 2021, at 10:53 p.m., officers were dispatched to Dundee Avenue and Dundee Place on the report of a shooting. Upon arrival, officers located the victim in front of 4145 Dundee Avenue with a gunshot wound to his leg. The victim was transported to Mount Carmel East in stable condition. And now on to the homicide investigations. On March 6, 2021, at 2:32 a.m., patrol officers responded to 111 South Grant Avenue, Grant Hospital, on a walk-in shooting. The victim was self-transported. However, despite life-saving medical treatment, the victim succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced at 3:06 a.m. At this time, the location of the shooting is still unknown. Investigators are talking to persons of interest to obtain additional information surrounding the incident. The victim's identity is being withheld at this time, pending next of kin notification. This was the 37th homicide of 2021. On Saturday, March 6, 2021, at 3:29 p.m., Columbus police officers were called to 3428 Bolton Avenue on what was reported as an accidental shooting. Upon arrival, officers found 19-year-old Caleb Day suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Columbus Fire Medic 23 responded and pronounced Day deceased at 3:36 p.m. Witnesses who were inside the house when the incident occurred claimed Day was handling a firearm when it discharged, fatally wounding him. Physical evidence at the scene contradicted the witnesses' statements. Based on physical evidence at the scene, it does not appear that Day shot himself. Update. A warrant was filed for the arrest of Tajon Files on March the 7th, 2021. On March the 8th, 2021, Tajon Files was arrested after turning himself in to Columbus Police. On March the 7th, 2021, at 1:55 a.m., Columbus police officers were dispatched to the Sand Pebble Lounge at 1913 Lockbourne Road on a shooting. Upon arrival, the officers located the victim in the outside patio suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. The victim was transported to a local hospital by Columbus Fire Medic 14 in critical condition. Despite receiving life-saving medical treatment, the victim succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced at 2:30 a.m. Witnesses stated the victim engaged in a brief altercation with the suspects prior to being shot. This was the 39th homicide of 2021. On March 9th, 2021, at 2:15 p.m., Columbus police officers were called to 2117 Winslow Drive on the report of a deceased female at that location. On arrival, officers found 46-year-old Felicia Lane inside her apartment unresponsive. Columbus Fire Engine 15 responded and pronounced Lane deceased at 2:20 p.m. Due to suspicious circumstances at the scene, homicide detectives were summoned and are treating Miss Lane's death as a homicide. This is the 40th homicide of 2021.